office manager. Yay! So you will see Luca in there, and you will hear Luca's voice when you call or come in or anything like that. So we're just so thankful. So fortunately, Luca's grad school is asynchronous, right? You can do it at your time and your pace and things like that online, and so that allows him to also take on our job. So, yay, this has been, yeah, thank you. I've been doing a lot of interviewing lately, so we're so glad. Whew, that clock wants to go this morning, doesn't it? Great. All right, other announcements that I have. Lynn, can you get to Lynn a minute with the microphone, and I'll do our unconfirmation class is going to begin the last Sunday evening, thank you, clock, of the month, and then it'll be the last Sunday. So if you know anyone, kids 5th grade through 12th grade, and I put an ad in the paper. I don't know if it's going to be seen well, but it's in there. But I put a disclaimer at the bottom that there is no expectation that the kids join the church, make public profession of faith, if people even know what that is. But none of that. I've talked about this a little bit, but my whole thing is I've just heard from parents a lot, oh, we want kids to make their own decision. Well, they need to have some information to make that decision with. And so this is going to be a time for us to just talk about things, but also, as I do with adults, some of you have been through my membership classes. For adult membership class, I ask 2 questions. How'd you get here and why do you stay? And what I want to do with the kids is, what do you already know about faith? And what does that mean to you? And here's some tools to keep asking that question and building that faith journey that we call it, whatever it contains through your whole life. So if you know of anybody, any parents that would want to send their kids, they can be anything. We're bringing them all along. So we'll keep talking about that, but we'll start that in a couple of weeks. Lynn.
Good morning and Merry Christmas.
Okay, so Tuesdays and Thursdays, they're doing prep for the Christmas fair, and come and join them 10 to 12, right? Okay, so yeah, I gotta click on this. So come and join them if you'd like to do it. And again, no skill required, they will train you. So I'm always amazed how much they'll give you a piece to do, and it'll be fun. All right. Okay, go for it, please.
From the Environmental Justice, bread. Speak up, Allie. Bread half and half. No. Sorry. Next Sunday.
Grocery list.
Sunday, it's a celebration, a nationwide celebration of action and celebration, day of celebration, at Lincoln Park in Portland. This is your opportunity to take the Husky Bus. This is coming from the Environmental and Social Justice Committee. The Husky Bus is the easiest, best way to get to Portland, and cheap. For $2, you can get into Portland and drop off anywhere, almost anywhere. Anyway, a bunch of us are gonna go on the Husky Bus right out in front of Hannaford. Head into Lincoln Park. There will be food trucks, music, kids' activities. It's Sunday, a nationwide celebration. So more information, yes? The Husky Bus that works for us is 11:55, and it goes into Portland every half hour or so and gets picked up every half hour or so until 6:30, I think, is the last bus from Portland on Sundays. $2. $1 if your hair looks like this.
Love it, love it. So you can tell our program year is now ramping up. Watch the Blast. We've got some Beyond Worships planned, some movies, some short movies, some longer movies, some book groups that we're going to plan. If anyone has a book that they think other people would love to discuss, read and discuss, let me know. I would love to have other people lead book groups too. I know Bev did one of those for us last spring, but if you have one that you're interested in, please let me know. Yeah. I think that's, they're all the way down the page here. All right, any other announcements I think I've missed? All right, it's only about 11 after. We did pretty good this Sunday on all of this. So let's gather together and let's worship. Wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever you come with, and wherever you are going, you are seen, you are heard, you are welcome. You have always belonged. We open this gathering with an acknowledgement of the lands, waters, creatures, plants, and peoples whose being is bound up with our own and mutual dependence. For thousands of years, indigenous people have walked on this land on their own land. Their relationship with the land is at the center of their lives. We acknowledge these lands upon which we worship as the ancestral, cultural, traditional, and unceded lands of the Wabanaki Confederacy. We commit ourselves to the work of dismantling the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism. And please turn in your bulletin and stand if you're able, and let's sing together, Gather Us In. Gracious God, indeed, you are the fire of life in our flesh and our bone. You are the very love that calls us into being, not just once at the beginning of our lives, but each and every moment. And let us be your people, God, here in this place as we gather to remind ourselves of who we are called to be, and as we step out again into this world to be your love. Let us indeed be your people. All this we ask in your name. Amen. If you're standing, you may be seated. We're going to talk about why faith, why we do faith today. We're going to start, I'm going to use some of the, not the same information, but I'm going to be on this whole thinking process of doing this unconfirmation class for the kids. So I'm going to kind of do some of those things, those good questions that we have also too for us. But the first one is, why do we bother with faith? What does this mean? And I found this poem that's from about the early 1900s. And even though it rhymes, there's some older languages in it, it still feels very modern to me. And it still has that twist at the end that I love when poets do. They kind of lead you along and then they get you in the last few lines. But the other thing I love about this poem is the number of question marks in it, the number of questions it asks us. Because that's what faith does. We ask questions, and it questions us as we live it out in this world. So if you would, gather with me with these questions as we hear this together. So if you would, ground yourself with your feet on whatever ground that is on, with your seat, in your seat, and find your breathing. What are we bound for? What's the yield of all this energy and waste? Why do we spend ourselves and build with such an empty haste? Wherefore the bravery we boast? How can we spend one laughing breath when at the end all things are lost in ignorance and death? The stars have found a blazing course in a vast curve that cuts through space, enough for us to feel the force swinging us through the days, enough that we have strength to sing and fight and somehow scorn the grave, that life's too bold and bright a thing to question or to save. Loving God, in all our building and spending and haste that we do in this world, may we stop. May we feel you swinging us through this life. May we feel the power of your love that comes through us and out of us into this world. And may we know that these lives we have are a gift to be given in love. Let us live your faith. All this we ask in your name. Amen.
Kindle a flame within our hearts. Let your light shine through. Let your light shine through. Kindle a flame within our hearts. Let your justice shine through. Let your justice shine through. Kindle a flame within our hearts. Let your hope shine through. Let your hope shine through. Kindle a flame within our hearts. Let your love shine through. Let your love shine through.
Thank you, choir. We have a few new members of choir today, and one of them is Fiona. And when I saw Fiona in her robe, I said, "Oh my goodness, they found a robe to fit you." Well, almost. Her sleeves are very long, but it's not too bad. And then when I saw Nicholas come up, I'm like, "Uh-oh, we need a really tiny robe, don't we?" But so glad. Thank you. We've got Julianne's now in the choir, but we're so glad you're all back, choir 2, with us. Can I have the children forward? Are you guys coming? Oh, there's George. I didn't think you got left at home. Come on up. How are you guys doing? Did you have a good summer? I've seen some of you during the summer, but you always look taller when you come back in September. You really do. Good. So what scares you? You don't know what scares you? Do you guys ever get out in boats or canoes or kayaks or anything like that? Have you been out and there's been a really big wave?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, what does that feel like?
Kind of scary.
It's a little scary, isn't it? You kind of go, whoa, right?
When you're on the tube.
When you're on the tube, oh, you get to tube, yeah. That's true. Because I have a kayak, and I bought it specifically. It's 16 feet long, so it's kind of big. But I bought it specifically so it could take 2 waves. But then I realized, because I started paddling out in New York City, out in the ocean, and I'm like, ocean waves are big waves. So even though I thought it could take 2 waves at the same time, sometimes those waves, have you ever been on one where they just come right over the kayak, right, and they get you all wet? If you're in a canoe, they really are up because you're out of the water more, and they can swamp you, right? Well, we're having a story today about the guys were out in a much bigger boat, like a fishing boat, right? And a storm comes up. Like, sometimes that happens at Sebago. Like, you can't see it coming, and then all of a sudden that changes, the wind changes, and and those waves on Sebago can get rocky, can't they? They really can go at you, right? So this is what happened. They didn't see it coming because of the mountains or something, and boom, and like they're getting swamped, and there's waves everywhere. Well, they're out in this boat with Jesus. Jesus is sleeping in the boat. Can you imagine? Like, this boat is rocking and rolling everywhere, and he is snoring somewhere there. How do you like that? Are you one of those people that can fall asleep anywhere? No? You have to be like in bed and it be really quiet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to be kind of in a light space because I have a lot of night lights.
Oh, okay. You have a lot of night lights, huh?
I need pretty much light but kind of dim.
Oh, see, I'm one of those people that can fall asleep anywhere. I fell asleep on the subway when I used to live in New York City. I had to be really careful not to miss my stop. I even fall asleep at home sitting up, knitting, watching TV. Everything's going on. I think it's because there were 4 kids in my family. You just had to get used to falling asleep where it was loud, right? I don't know, but I can fall asleep just about anywhere, right? And that's what Jesus is doing. He's sleeping at the bottom of there's water coming and everything. And they wake him up, the disciples wake him up, and they're like, "What are you going to do? Like, we're going to die," right? And he just asks them one question. He says, "Where's your faith?" And I think what Jesus was trying to say is, hold it, look around. Hi, hon. Look, you're not alone. You've got each other. Oh, I guess that's where you want to go. And we're all together in this, right? And sometimes when we're afraid, that's what we think, we're all by ourselves, don't we? Sometimes in bed it's like that, isn't it? When it's too dark or we're in a strange place, like we think and then we realize, no, there's people around us, right? And there's always people that love us, that we're never, never alone. So even when scary things happen, remember, we're not alone. We're always loved. There's people around us. And even if we don't happen to know those people's name, that's okay. They're still around us and will help us often too. So and God is always with us too. And we can say, "Oh, I'm scared." And we can feel God's love. So when you're scared this week, think of that you've got a lot around you that loves you. Okay? Let's pray. Gracious God, sometimes things can get really scary, and we feel like we're all alone and we don't know what to do. But we are never alone. There's people around us, and your love is always with us. Help us to remember that and to be those people of love for other people when they're scared, and help them remember that they're loved too. All this we ask in your name. Amen. All right, head out with Eric. All right.
You're a child of the water, child of the word, guided by promise and stories you've heard. God of the wounded knows you by name and carries you home every day. From your first breath to the last step, all of your dance, down deep in your laughter, whatever your fears, try to remember. You're a child of the water, child of the word, guided by promise and stories you've heard. God of the wounded knows you by name and carries you home every day.
Our story this morning is what I told to the kids from the 8th chapter of Luke. Let's listen for God speaking to us through these words today. One day, Jesus got into the boat with his disciples, and he said to them, "Let's go across to the other side of the lake." So they put out, and while they were sailing, he fell asleep. And a windstorm swept down on the lake, and the boat was filling with water, and they were in danger. And they went to him and they woke him up, shouting, "Master, Master, we're perishing." And waking up, he rebuked the wind and the raging waves, and they ceased, and there was a calm. And he said to them, "Where is your faith?" And they were terrified and amazed, and they said to one another, "Who then is this that he commands even the winds and the water, and they obey him?" May God bless these words to our living. What is your favorite question to ask? Why? Oh, ooh, that's a good one. That's kind of the rebel's question, isn't it? When somebody asks something, you're like, why? Why? Anybody else? Yeah. What to keep and what to let go of. Somebody's moved in the recent future, haven't they? Yeah, in the recent past, right? What do you keep and what do you let go of? That's a great question. What's for dinner? Yalen, that's a good question. Tom? Where's the cause and effect? Ooh, good one. Yeah. What do you notice? Said by a teacher too. Good question for your kids. Is that one you use with your kids? Yeah, a lot. What do you notice? What's next? Yeah, there you go. What is this all about? Yeah. What can I do? Nice question. Yeah. How do we make a difference? All right. Yeah, I had, how did you learn that? To ask another person. I love to ask people where they've lived. Oh, the stories that come out when you ask where they've lived. And then my other favorite one, if you have a significant other, how did you meet your significant other? What I love is when they're both together and the stories don't match. I just think that's hilarious, right? But we do. We make up our own memories, don't we, too? So, but how do you feel when you're asked the wrong question? Attacked? Ooh, yep. Uncomfortable? Yep. We've got a problem with the wrong question today. So have you ever done this where you've been talking, like telling a story maybe, and either somebody stops you mid-story or you get to the end and they ask you the strangest question? that has absolutely nothing to do with what you were talking about, right? Yeah. It's totally off topic, and it makes you wonder not only if they were listening, but if they actually were standing there for the last few minutes with you, right? When I was in school, I don't know if you had this when you were a kid, there were 2 questions that we used to ask all the time and then giggle about. And the first one is, do you walk to school or take your lunch? Right. And when I looked that one up, that's actually a real question, but you have to know the assumptions under that. The assumptions under it are that some kids who walked to school then walked home for lunch. So they wouldn't bring their lunch. Did some of you actually go home for lunch? I did a few times, not a lot. Yeah, some of you. Kids don't go home for lunch anymore. They don't let us off, until you're like 16 or 17, they don't let you off campus, right? But it's just, we used to giggle about that. Us kids had no background. We just thought that was hilarious. The other one is a perennial favorite in my family. How long is a submarine, true or false? Yeah, exactly. What? Right? And there's a name for these questions. They say that they have category error. Don't you love that? In logic, you have a category error, right? And it's funny, when I looked them up, of course, I don't like the AI, but I read it because sometimes it's so hilarious, I can't stand it, right? Like, you're like, really? And AI tries to make logic out of these questions. It's hilarious, and I'm like, no, you're not getting that. Your algorithm needs to be changed, right? And one person even said, oh, that's a Venn diagram, and you have to do 2 circles. We've got a Venn diagram on our bulletin cover this morning, but, you're supposed to find it, and they talk all around it. And I just look at them like, why don't you just learn to giggle like us kids did, and know that they're absurd and that that's okay. And it's okay to have silly questions, fun ones like that don't make any sense. But I thought of those questions when I selected this story of Jesus calming the sea, is what it's often called. And I picked it for the Jesus question, where is your faith? But look at what the disciples ask instead. After all of this happens, they ignore his question completely, and they go on to, who is this that he commands the winds and waves and they obey him? And I can just see Jesus under his breath go, wrong question, right? To him, that sounded like how long is a submarine, true or false, right? They weren't even there. They weren't getting this, right, what was going on. They're inundated by water in this boat, right? And I can just see Jesus, after all this and the storm is calmed, him going, can we go back to the earlier question that I asked? And I picked this story particularly, this version of it, out of Luke, because it's in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, all of them. And that's where we get, in the other 2 versions, where we get Jesus making a statement. Ye of little faith. That's the King James version of it, right? You of little faith, he says to them, almost like an accusation, right? But when I read all 3 again, and then hit Luke, and I'm like, I like it better when it's a question. Where is your faith? Now that can still sound like a bit of an accusation, can't it? But it's not. It's a good question that's not just for the boat. That's not just for the storm. It's a great question for everywhere. Now, I know it's not really a dinner party question. And it's probably the reason I don't throw dinner parties, because that is a question. After where did you grow up? How many places have you lived? I'm like, so what do you think about faith? That would not go well for most places, right? But I love this. Where is your faith? It's a question that I ask myself all the time. Where is my faith? Right? I know we are northern New Englanders. Even if we weren't born here, we live here. And we're often called frozen chosen as mainline Protestants, right? When we say, where is your faith? Everybody just goes, okay, if I stay quiet and keep nodding, maybe they'll just, maybe the question will go away, right? We want it quiet, hidden, right? But this is the question for our time. And it's a question for every day. But it's particularly a question, this is the question, the statement out of the book of Esther, for such a time as this, right? And as I walk the young people who come through this unconfirmation series that I'm putting together, we're going to be asking questions of them about what they're discovering and starting to outline them and help them start to put into words some of the things that they see, believe or not believe. What do you see? I just want to hear it, you know? What do you see? You know? What do you notice out there? What do you notice within yourself? And I think it's great for us who have a few years on the younger people to ask ourselves some of the same questions. And my assumption with faith first is a verb. It's not a noun, it's a verb. And it is always under construction. I remember the first time I went to St. John's the Divine Cathedral in New York City, in upper Manhattan. And, you know, you get a tour of this big, it's a modern cathedral here, you know, and they were saying, they were talking about all that was needed to do to build it. And then I heard them say, and I was a minister at this time, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I couldn't even imagine leading this, right? We haven't even finished the cathedral yet, and we've already started on renovations. Oh, that just hurt. You know, can you imagine? Some of you have built houses, right, from scratch, been a part of it. Can you imagine that you're renovating and you haven't even finished everything yet? Ow, right? But that is what I think faith does to us. And that is we are on constant renovation, even if it feels like we don't even know completely what this thing looks like. And that's okay, because this is our question. Where is our faith? We are in a situation now, I would say, much like the disciples. We were out sailing in this life, going about our business. We just thought we'd get to the other side of the lake. You know, a nice thing to do on a sunny day, right? It's a lovely day, so much so that Jesus decides to take a nap. Doesn't that, I don't know if y'all like boats, but that just sounds like heaven to me. Laying down in a boat like on the deck and taking a nap in the sun. Oh man, that's great. Unfortunately, he wasn't sailing the boat, it appears, when he took this nap. But this windstorm came out of nowhere. This is what the Sea of Galilee can do. Things can swoop down from the mountains that surround it, and it just comes up. I've seen clouds come over very quickly over Sebago, and everything change quickly. And especially when I'm in my little bitty kayak, or it feels little bitty at that point, you know you're in trouble, right? Well, storms are chaos in stories. They are in the Old Testament. If you think about in the Hebrew Scriptures, if you think about, you know, that time with Elijah where the wind came through and the lightning came through and all this, and that's chaos all around. And the answers kept being, but God wasn't in this, God wasn't in this, God wasn't in this, God was with Elijah. But think about the Noah story, right? 40 days and 40 nights, right? Long, long time they're having it. That's chaos. The Greeks do this well. They love storms. It always means, you know, who's got the lightning bolt? Is that Zeus? Yeah, he is always creating chaos, isn't he? Did you know, I didn't know this. I didn't study probably as much Greek mythology as I should have, but the very first character in Greek mythology is chaos. Does that sound at all familiar? All right? The beginning of our creation stories in the Hebrew Scriptures are always a void and empty. And that's what chaos means. It can mean an abyss, a gaping, a confusion, a disorder. I mean, it's just awful, right? It's a storm. I thought about that, the chaos of creation. Did you know that red spot on Jupiter is a storm? We say it's been going for at least 300 years. Do you know why we say that? Because that's as long as we've been able to see it. We have no idea how long that storm has continued. Can you imagine, like, having that somewhere on this planet, a storm, an area that just storms continually, right? So chaos is this state beyond the familiar, beyond what we know, beyond what's reliable. Does that sound like a good definition for us, right? And it does mean an emptiness or a vast void or an abyss. It actually comes from the word that means to gape, to be wide open. You know, that's again, you hear our creation story and that void, of our story too. You getting an idea why that maybe this story's good for us these days, right? Are you feeling a little like it's not so familiar, it's not so reliable, all those kind of things? That you find yourself gaping. Did you find yourself gaping this week about what was going on? And not just the Charlie Kirk, the drones from Russia, right, into Poland, right? Another school shooting that we heard of, so much, right? It's like things don't feel familiar, that we don't know them, that the reliable is missing. Well, I would say, according to our Jesus story today, faith and chaos go together. If we think that there's not chaos, we are fooling ourselves. All right? And yet, we are not left just in chaos. That's that great question. Where is your faith? It should be right here, right in the midst of the chaos, is what Jesus is asking them. When we are gaping, right? When it feels like there's such a void, what is our response? Right? And it's hard. Did you hear this week they picked up a parent at a Portland school? ICE picked up a parent. You can't even drop your kids off at school now, right? We've got a lot going on. And look what the disciples do in the midst of that. They are shaking Jesus awake, and they are hollering, "We're all gonna die," right? That was a phrase from my childhood. I actually texted all my siblings yesterday and said, "Where did that come from?" And everybody remembers it. We think maybe we learned it because we grew up at that camp and conference center, that one of the counselors taught us that or something. But I remember at around 10, 11 years old, us kids would say that to each other, like something would happen and we'd go, "We're all gonna die," And it was a funny way to talk about it and think, and yet it's something we did together. It's so interesting, right? We could joke about it because we were together. And a lot of times with this story about Jesus, we go to the calm, don't we? Oh, he just has to wake up and he rebukes, don't you love that? He rebukes the wind and the wave as if they're doing something they're not supposed to do. I don't know about you, but like wind and waves are going to happen, right? Why are we getting mad that they happen? Right? Because we want the faith in the calm, right? That's where it is. And so that's where we're supposed to be if we decide we have faith or act out faith. It's supposed to be calm around us. And yeah, I'm not so sure. I don't know. How's calm going in your life? Right? Okay? I thought about faith and why we faith and why we as humans even came up with something like faith, right? First of all, did you know our brains had to get big enough? Reading kind of the background of how they think religion and things like that came back, they're like, yeah, maybe like 30, I don't know, I can't remember now, 13,000 years ago, something. Our brains had to get big enough to have that. We had to know that there's an end. And we had to be able to think about our end and our beginning at the same time. Not just a response of, please don't kill me, like most animals, trying to stay alive. But what does our end mean? And what does that time between our beginning and our end mean? And I thought of, in all of that, Maslow's hierarchy. Because faith, Maslow's hierarchy, and I'll have to admit, that's why there's a Venn diagram on the front of that bulletin this morning because the word hierarchy makes me break out in hives. I just don't like, I call it the H word. I just don't like it. So then I put in Venn diagram, Maslow's hierarchy. Sure enough, somebody had drawn one. Look at that. And that's what it is. Rather than, physical is at the bottom, like of Maslow's, and then you go up and you kind of get to this higher level where, I always learned only a small amount of people ever get there. I'm like, seriously? I remember sitting in class in college as we were talking about that because I was a nursing student, and they're talking about, not many people. And I'm thinking, that is not my theology. That is just not. I think we all can get everywhere, and we're all responsible to make sure everybody has the physical and some of these other pieces. But I think of our lives as people, as physical, mental, and spiritual aspects in the big three, right? And how they fit all together. And we've got insurance that we can purchase for the physical and the mental, right? If our mental health and our spiritual health aren't doing well, we have insurance. We don't have anything like that for the spiritual, do we? Sometimes we have people who insist they can make us well, right? Or can get us places. But most times those experts are trying to take power away from us rather than empower us. And religion, which comes, with the faith, it's like religion is this, I'm thinking through this. When you got to start thinking about talking to fifth graders about this stuff, boy, you got to get concrete fast, But I'm thinking of religion as the space that we create with rituals and even literally physical space to ask ourselves questions. Like, what do we value? What are our morals? And what are our beliefs? Because values are what's important to us, right? Morals are what's our right conduct? How do we act? And beliefs are what are those truths and convictions and opinions that we're really going to base our life on, right? And I think of faith as the way that we communicate that to each other. The way that we say, we're all connected in this. We are all physical, mental, and spiritual beings together. And we have to find a way to communicate that. And faith, I think, is those actions. I don't have that completely fleshed out yet. I got to keep working on this. I said that in a ministers group last week. I said, I've decided faith is a verb and it's communication. And boy, did I make everybody scratch their head in that room. You could tell they wanted to go, that's not right, but we don't know why yet. I hear that a lot. That was my favorite phrase. When last thing I did in seminary was you have to do a credo, what you believe. And I got to a point with a teacher that I was working on this with, and he goes, I know it's not right, but I don't know why. So I'm just going to have to let you go. And I thought, well, that was the most dangerous thing you just did, right? It served me well. But our faith is embodied, and we communicate with our whole selves everything that we do, everything that we say, everything we don't do and don't say, right? So when Jesus says, where is your faith? He's kind of saying, guys, this should be with you all the time. It should be every action that you do. What'd you do? Leave it on shore? Right? What do we express every moment? Right? What do we create? What do we bring to chaos? And it's not easy, is it? To remember not to just panic during chaos, right? This woman said something to me a couple of weeks ago, a woman I had never met, I just met at something, and she just looked at me kind of with desperation, and she said, in this that we're in right now, what can we do? Right? And I thought, whoa, ma'am, we need to first breathe, And I thought, wow, my faith really helps me with this. And what I said to her was, the thing that's right in front of you, that's what you do next. And you could tell she wanted a quick fix, right? She wanted those wind and waves to be rebuked, right? and calm to come. And I thought, sweetie, you are not going to hear that from me. All we've got is the next thing in front of us, but we've got that with all that we are and all that we're called to be, that we call faith. And we can communicate that this is not the end of the world, right? We're not going to all die. I remember when I was a kid, I had a poster of posters from, do you remember the poster company Argo? I cannot even believe I remember this, right? And so I never had any of the posters. I had the advertisement for all the posters. Wow. But they were the ones like a picture of a rope, with a knot at the end, and it says when you get to the end of your rope, make a knot and hang on, right? Or that kitten hanging that said, hang in there, baby, or something like that. And I thought that was perfect for when I was 10, right? Those little phrases that you have. But that's not faith, right? Faith is not just calm times. Did anybody, this book came out in like 1989, ever read the book called Chaos by James Glick? Yes, somebody did. Good, thank you, right? I remember this coming out. I was just out of college and everything. I was probably in seminary. It came out, thought it was the best thing in the world. Partly because I was always told in seminary too that God created order out of chaos. And that is another one of those things that give me hives. As if it's a one-way thing. I'm like, oh, no. We're in chaos all the time. But what do we do in that chaos? And that's the thing. This is a new way of looking at it that is now older now, but that Glick came up with. And one of the things I remember in that book that he said is, we often think it's chaos because we're too close and we're in the middle of it. He says there's patterns out there, there's cycles out there, but often we're this close and we can't see it and we need to step back. I think about that. You're in the middle of a hurricane or a storm. Wow. Right? But if we see the images of it from radar, well, it's just a big white cloud with a hole in the middle, isn't it? And we can see that there's a beginning to it and that there's an end to it. And yeah, there's a lot of destruction in the middle. We know that. But that there is these things, and we lose that often. And I often think in chaos, what we do as people of faith say, you know what? There are beginnings and endings to things. And we have good ways to stand in the middle together. When I was trying to think of what do I say to little kids, right? Do I say to little kids this morning? Did I say, don't worry, God's going to make all things better? No. How will that get them through life, right? Sometimes things are going to really stink, aren't they? I would use another word, but I'm in church, right? Right? It's going to be hard. But we have this faith, this way of acting, these questions that we keep asking ourselves that say, who do we want to be at this time and place? How do we want to act? Because we know that there's beginnings and endings. Faith is seeing that big picture. Is seeing, we talk about life and death. We are bold enough to put a form of torture and assassination and execution up in front of our churches, right? We don't ignore that. We say, you know what? We are people of life and death. We are people of life and death and resurrection. We even gather. So we are a people of community. So that means power is a lot different. And I just did it. We're community like this, not power like this. Right? So we have different ways of viewing things. We have Ecclesiastes also too. There is nothing new under the sun, right? We've seen it before. But how are we going to express our value power away from you and tell you, I am the only one that can fix this? You don't have to do anything. Just give me all your power and I will fix that. Sound vaguely familiar? Maybe quoting someone, right? It doesn't work, does it? Bolsonaro is now in prison in Brazil, or will be soon, right? That's what he told his people too. It doesn't work. Then it's the one that I also say, it's when you flatten things. Okay? And I'm going to use Charlie Kirk for this example. Now, in no way do I believe that assassination should happen, right? I think we got a lot of work to do, not only on gun issues here in this country, but on young white men. You guys, another 22-year-old man, right, whose life has now ended, right, because of what he did, and those who egged him on online, the stuff he was reading and doing. We got a problem, you guys, that we got to fix, right? But Charlie Kirk also is one of those examples of people who flatten things. He wants us to do the work too, right? But this is the only work we can do, and the only way we can do it. And the only way we can do it is say that transgender people are awful. They don't even exist, right? That gay marriage shouldn't exist, right? I mean, all the things he said, it's just, yeah, this was the problem. I knew of him, but I ignored him for a long time, right? And now you just look at this list of things that he said. Goodness sakes, he even said, well, you know, you've probably heard this, right? Him say this. Well, we just have to put up with some gun deaths so that we can have these guns to protect our rights. You know, my heart is broken. I'm broken for him because we and him are never going to get to see him change his mind. He doesn't get to ask the question of himself anymore, right? Where is my faith? He had flattened it to only one way, one thing. That doesn't work. It's not what God calls us to. Are we going to admit that there's chaos or create chaos? When we admit that we're in the boat, in the chaos, we also say, and we've got some tools to work with this. We're going to try to be people of faith. We're going to say that chaos does not have the last word, even if it keeps coming back again and again. We're going to say that what we value is love. What we value is each other. What we value is saying, you know what? I thought something 10 years ago, and it doesn't work now. I left people out. I hurt people by doing that. How can I change? That's the action of faith. Disciples tried to get out of the hard work, right? Or the writers, at least of this story, tried to give them and get us to focus on, ooh, this Jesus is so wonderful. But no, that's not what we're called for. We're called to be in that chaos with all that we are and all that we're given, to remind each other of what we value and what we love, not what we exclude and hate. And say, you know what? That has the last word. We can make it through this storm and the next one and the one after that and learn in each storm. Let us be God's people of the good questions. Let's pray. Loving God, you come to us in questions so often, questions that we want to run from. And then we often have a question for you, like, why don't you just make it right? Why don't you just make it easy? Why don't you just make it calm? And then we hear that question again. Where is your faith? God, let's get this faith out. Let's exercise it. Let's use it. Help us to strengthen it every day. So we are not your people of division, but your people of love. All this we ask in your name. Amen. And let's stand together and sing the hymn, Higher Ground. Do people know this hymn? Do you get, no, no. Oh man, I think I just picked a Midwestern hymn for y'all. I was explaining to the choir, because they're like, we really haven't heard this. I said, this is one of these hymns that when you get to the chorus, you put it down, you put your head back, and you just sing the chorus. So this is what we're heading for. Let's stand together and we'll sing Higher Ground.
Pressing on the upward way, new heights I'm gaining every day. Still praying as I onward bound, Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. Lord, lift me up and let me stand by faith on heaven's stable land, a higher plane than I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. My heart has no desire to stay where doubts arise and fears dismay. Though some may dwell where these abound, my prayer, my aim is higher ground. Lord, lift me up and let me stand by faith on heaven's stable land, a higher plane than I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. I want to live above the world, though Satan's darts at me are hurled. For faith has caught a joyful sound, the song of saints on higher ground. Lord, lift me up and let me stand by faith on heaven's stable land, a higher plane than I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. I want to scale the utmost height and catch a gleam of glory bright. But still I pray to heaven I found. Lord, lead me on to higher ground. Lord, lift me up and let me stand by faith on heaven's stable land, a higher plane than I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground.
You may be seated. I think I just turned us into a Baptist church with that one. Pretty sure that's probably a Baptist hymn, but that's all right. Our gifts and our offerings we bring. We bring them together because then we are stronger together. Then we can say, no, this chaos is not greater than us. And also, it helps us ask ourselves the question, what do we notice? Right? When we don't have resources, it feels like anything we see overwhelms us. It is chaos. But when we have resources together, when we have watched each other give, when we have done this together, we say, oh, we know what we can do. We can find a place in here, and we do find places, don't we, as this congregation. As the basket is somewhere for the food pantry that we bring stuff to, if it's in the, socks and Dunkin' Donut cards, right, is something else. If diapers, so we did diapers very successfully this summer, right? If it's shampoo and shaving cream and razors and a Hannaford card for the Courage House guys. If it's a yes to someone whose power bill is way too big for them. We can do that together. As we give, we notice. Let's live out being God's people together.
God in humbleness. Alleluia, alleluia.
Loving God, open our eyes, open our hearts. As we open our hands, as we reach forward together, let us be the actions that bring hope in amidst the chaos, that show faith in all that we do. All this we ask in your name. Amen. You may be seated. And please join me in our prayer together if you will pray the bold. Creator God, in love, you have fashioned the human family in a variety of races, languages, and cultures. Do not let our diversity divide us, but help us to welcome gifts we can give and receive from one another. Save us from prejudice, arrogance, and fear, and teach us how to live together. For we are members of one family, sharing one home, and the children of one God. And God, today we come with you, speaking these words and shaking our heads, because we're having a hard time seeing this. We see a lot of division. We wonder if we are strong enough with the actions that are even right before us that we know we are called to by you to do. Are we strong enough to overcome? And the answer is, well, where's your faith? Take it out for a spin. It is strong enough. It is your very life. And God, we do grieve as a nation today that children were harmed in their school in Denver, that another child was so alone and so hopeless that they thought violence was some kind of solution, and then they took their own life. God, we grieve as a young person took the life of another in front of so many in a place, a college campus, where so many call home and we're calling safe. Loving God, let us do the work that we need to do together as a people, to use words that bring us together, not divide us, that ask questions not so that we can argue, but so that we can listen. Loving God, and in this world where bombs are dropped on the heads of people who have no place to be in shelter in Gaza, who the total destruction of their city is the plan. Where bombs are sent over from other countries and lies are told, oh no, that wasn't us. Loving God, we have eyes to see. We have hearts to break. God, we know we can be people of peace. We know that we can live together on this amazing planet that lives and breathes with us, that gives us and sustains our life. Let us give to this planet and to all people on it what is needed to truly live. Indeed, God, forgive us when we think that it's just words. Forgive us when we think we have our people taken care of. And there are so many who are so lonely and feel so cut off, feel alone in the boat. God, whatever way we have, whatever is in front of us, may we be your people of love. For those whom we've spoken of, those who have received surgery and are recovering, those who will receive it this week, those who are struggling with their health, those who are finding a moment of hope. God, may they know you in all of that. May they know they're not alone. And for those who are living in grief, whether that grief be a familiar companion that they have been living with for a while, or a new stranger that they wish would have never showed up at their door. May they see you in both of those. Through the action of us and others, may they know that they are not alone. God, as we begin again here, our new year together, let us work together. Let us be together. Let us make together a word that extends so far out beyond these walls. May we be a people of your loving embrace. And may we know there indeed is no stranger. Hear us now as we say we will be a part of that, as we lift our voices together and pray. O breathing life of all, in the roar and whisper, in the breeze and the whirlwind, we hear your name. Help us let go, clear the space inside, creating a holy place within for your light to shine. Unite our I can to yours, so that we can walk with every creature. May we act with your heart's fervent desire. Give us the food we need to grow through each new day. Produce in us the wisdom and understanding we need at each new stage of our lives. Help us to let go of our past, the hidden guilt of our failures, just as we consistently release others of the knots of their guilt. Let us not become lost in busyness, in the surface appearance of things, but free us from what holds us back. May abundance, fertile power, and glorious harmony return again and again in each new age. May this be the ground from which all our actions grow. Amen. And let's stand together as we sing our song, We Are Walking in the Light of God. And I'll just holler out the words. We are walking in the light of God. 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 We are walking, we are walking, we are walking in the light of God. We are walking, we are walking, we are walking. how we were swinging through this life. We know that we've got motion and action and love to share. So let us go and dance the dance of faith. And as we do that together, God's peace is with us now and always. Amen. Oh, we got one more song to sing. Sorry, we got that new one. I was wondering, I'm looking at Eric, so we're going to try a new thing. I'm going to blame Beverly, for this one. She had this suggestion, is that we end with a song. So there's your song at the end. We're going to sing it once through, and it is, May you run and not be weary. And we're singing it to each other. Thank you. What happens when I do